Aloha from Hawaii. This is our Thursday night class of Quiet Tibetan Buddhist Dharma and Healing Center. Here in Kapa'a on the island of Kauai, I'm Lama Tashi. We present this 2-hour program every Thursday night, 6 to 8, and it is recorded and put on our website, quietdharma.org. The class changes each week because of the mind training programs which are prolific in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Basically, we're practicing what is called the Sutra and Tantra traditions as the Buddha presented them in northern India, actually Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, those countries where the Buddha lived. And then we're in the 10th century, we're taken into Tibet by the reincarnation of the Buddha Padmasambhava. And then the first Lama he trained was a woman, Tibetan woman. Her name was Yeshe Sogyal. And when Padmasambhava left and went back to Bhutan or Nepal, then she disseminated the Dharma throughout Tibet over a long period of time. Now it is from Tibet to the Western world and everywhere, almost everywhere on the planet. I was asked a couple of questions today. What is Lama? Why do we use the term Lama? For instance, in other traditions, it's Sensei or Guru, like that. But Lama is the Tibetan for actually 2 words. La actually refers to gods and goddesses in one tradition, but La means honorable or higher. When we're talking about higher in awareness, and Ma means mother. So Lama translates honorable mother. And all the men and women of the Tibetan tradition, all the lineages that survived the Chinese takeover of Tibet, all the teachers are Lamas. And some are monks, some are householders, and some are yogis and yoginis. And those 3 actually are the 3 levels of practice. The Hinayana, which is the path of the Arhat, the Mahayana, which is the practice of the Sutra, and the Yogi and Yogini, which is the practice of Tantra. And we combine all of those. And many methods. Then the other question that was asked, what is enlightenment? Well, the Buddha tradition has been passed to many cultures on the planet. And the common denominator was the Pali or Sanskrit language to each of those cultures. So in that way, they crossed the language barrier. And the term for enlightenment is knowingness applied to truth. So really what the word means for us is truth. What is truth? Well, truth is based for us on awareness. And all sentient beings have awareness. But in the human condition, we have what is called self-awareness. In other words, we understand our situation. We understand our states of suffering. We understand our states of higher awareness. And the understanding is knowledge. So when the Buddha became enlightened, they said he attained a state of knowingness. He could know and see everything. And how that happened is he crossed the barrier of the drama world that we all know through our drama awareness by removing judgment. And it took him many, many years of practice, solitary practice, to erase that function of the mind. So later, after he reached this state of so-called enlightenment or truth, when he was traveling, one high Brahma actually asked the Buddha, what is he? What are you? Are you a Brahma? Are you a God? Are you a human? Are you enlightened? And all these questions. And the Buddha kept answering, no. No, none of that. And then he says, well, then how would you define yourself? He says, I can't. Because the definition itself requires a statement of judgment. And he says, when you remove the judgment, all that's left is the energy of the universe. So what happens is you, in the human condition, merge with your universal situation, and that includes all the beings in the universe. And you understand that you had all this suffering up until that moment of crossing into non-judgmental minds, is the way I put it. Mm-hmm. So you can apply that to infinite sentient beings as their source of suffering. So if the sentient beings in the universe remove their judgment of things being good, bad, or supernatural, or high, or inferior, or low, or being ignorant, those categories, then that person would be what we call enlightened. And what happens is when the judgment is removed, the thought processes are no longer incorporated into emotionality of attachment, aversion, pride, jealousy, greed, and all of that, ignorance. That no longer is, that program is no longer working. So that person has a higher state of awareness than all the ordinary beings with their awareness of the drama world. Because there's no drama. And that's a Buddha. And so all of us have this Buddha potential. When I say all of us, I'm saying all the humans, wherever they appear in the universe, whatever kind of planet, all the animals, same thing, and all the spirit world. All of these are called sentient beings, and they all have the same common denominator of emotionality based on judgment. And so all of them have Buddha potential because it is possible to remove, in the human condition only, this category of judgment. And so that's what we're doing. When you attempt to do this, when you receive guidance, whether it be whatever culture or whatever country you're in that's a Buddhist tradition, when you receive guidance of the teacher is helping you to move into this other state of awareness, which is already in your consciousness. And it's not an instant process. And there's many ways that you can access this other nature of your mind, but the only real way for it to stick is to use the category of what we call the Bodhisattva. Okay, Bodhisattva is taken from the word Buddha. Buddha means patterning and light in space. That's what the word translates.
What's the word, what?
Huh?
What word?
Bu is patterning and da is light.
Okay.
Bodhi is the same words, but structured so that you're on your way to Buddha, to being accessing this other state of your consciousness. And only humans can do this. So when you're a Bodhisattva, now you have a program. And that's what this class is. That's what all the lamas, whether they be householders, yogis, yoginis, or as I said before, monks or nuns, teach. And it's structured. And myself, I started in 1977 with the basis of Tantra called the Nungro and the Six Bodhisattva disciplines by taking refuge. That's the foundation. But the real foundation is loving kindness and compassion applied to everybody else, infinite sentient being. And that right away opens up your other aspect of your consciousness, which we call the heart mind of compassion and loving kindness. And that's where you get the term of the teacher, guru, honorable mother. So that's what we're going to do. And after we take refuge, I'm going to embellish this aspect of truth according to these classes that we do and the teachings of all my Lama teachers, men and women, from the Dalai Lama to Lama Rinchen Honolulu, and everyone that's taught me. And they all said the same thing. So I wrote these foundations down, and we're going to contemplate them. And when we practice, the most important thought to contemplate before you start to meditate. Meditate simply means to use your imagination and focus. Well, you can do that shooting a bow and arrow. See, there's lots of ways you can Tai Chi, Quan, any form of martial arts. There's all kinds of ways that you can train the mind now. But in the Dharma, you want to structure the mind based on loving kindness and compassion function. So the first most important is the altruistic motivation of Buddhism itself, not just Tibetan Buddhism. Whether you're an Arhat or a Bodhisattva or a Tantrika, Yogi, Yogini, this applies. And it is the basis of all the Buddhist teachings, no matter what culture or country they were sent to, like Japan, Thailand, China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Mongolia, and so forth. This is the key. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mothers, we now altogether take refuge and offer prostration. So this altruistic motivation is the key to the Bodhisattva path. It opens the door. Then we take refuge. Now, all the traditions of Tibetan Buddhism take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, but we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and the Lama symbol, because they restructure our mind with the Sutra and Tantra tradition. And then all the Buddhists have what they call the tenfold path, which to me the most important of that is right livelihood. So those 10 rights, all Buddhists know that. But in the Bodhisattva tradition, you have 6 Bodhisattva practices. So we take refuge in those 6 practices. That's what we do. And they apply to the Sutra and the Tantra and how to contemplate and meditate. So now we're going to do this. Read the first one. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mothers, We now all together take refuge and offer prostration. We go for refuge for all glorious holy ones. We go for refuge for all the yidams, the deities gathered in our mandala practice. We go for refuge for all the Buddhas, those who've conquered the mind and gone beyond. We go for refuge for all this supreme Dharma. We go for refuge to all the noble Sangha. And we go for refuge to all the Dakas and Dakinis, who are the protectors and defenders of Dharma. All of these possess the eye of transcending awareness. To the Buddha, Dharma, and this supreme assembly, we go for refuge until enlightenment. The eye merit came from practicing the Six Bodhisattva discipline, called the Six Perfections, accomplished Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Then I'm chanting the first altruistic motivation so that the spirits know it, and then we're going to do that refuge and bodhicitta prayer we just did also in Sanskrit. And I'll do the first part. Tadang Jowa Namde Tadang Yamde Semchem Tamche Tudine Yunte Jisi Jeju Nimpo Lachi Ibardi. In the refuge. Then Lama Dampa Namla Chasu Chidu Yedam Chokor Yilaso Namla Chasu Chidu Sanjay Chom Dende Namla Chasu Chidu Valpe Jendu Namla Chasu Chidu Bawo Kandro Chotum Sume Shoyashe Shendam Dempa Namon Chasu Sanjay Chodam Shoti Chodam Vatenchu Kardu Nadi Chasu Chi Nagi Junzo Zipe Sonami Jola Blender Shante Yugons Yu. So what do I do, having completed chanting or saying these prayers of refuge, altruistic motivation, the six refuges of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Lama deities, and protectors, and chanting the six perfection prayers of the Bodhisattva path, is I gather all of that into a symbol of a male and female deity as what they call the summary of all sutra and all tantra mind training practices into what they call in Tibetan Kunto Zangpo and Kunto Zangmo. Kunto Zangpo is all the five Dhyana Buddhas and all the sutras and all the Bodhisattva practices as a symbol of the teacher in union with the universe of the, we say, all the elemental energies of the universe, which is all the light and space, as Kunto Zangmo. And I put a picture in front of the Buddha on the shrine, which looks like this. And Kunto Zongpo is blue and Kunto Zongmo is white. Now, the Kunto Zongpo owns a Dorje and bell, which I have here, all along this head, men and women. And she has a Vajra and knife behind his head. Skull cup and knife. But she represents the universe and all the energy of the universe, which has no judgment to us whatsoever. And there's no such thing as supernatural. There's no such thing as high beyond the human condition. It doesn't happen. Okay? Yes, you can go into the spirit world, and yes, you can be a god and goddess in the spirit world, but that is not supernatural. That's actually not advisable in the Buddhist tradition. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's all in the sutra text. But what happens is when you move out of the human condition, if you don't have any judgment left in your mind, then the spirit world in all its entirety, which is filling the universe, is okay. You're okay with that. Why? Because your purpose is being fulfilled by being in the spirit world. You are setting an example to them to show them that they don't have to be all that emotionally involved with the idea of who they think they are, whether they're in heaven of the pleasure gods, or they say the Brahma worlds of light and energy, Shiva and so forth. They don't have to be in the war and war god realms, fighting, quarreling, and all that. They don't have to be in what they call the hungry ghost or deprived spirit world, which is based primarily on the function of greed, never fulfilled. And they don't have to be psychotic. They don't have to be intentionally mean or unkind or harmful. They don't have to. And that's what this sums it all up, is loving kindness and compassion is the simplicity of enlightenment. And if you don't get that with your body, speech, and mind, then you're not functioning as a Buddha. See? Okay, now we're going to take off with that foundation and just contemplate it, not meditate. We're going to meditate, but right now we just sit just as we are, comfortable. We might be laying down, we might be standing, like me, sitting in a chair. Whatever. But just rest your hands on your knees or in your lap. You can close your eyes, but we like to have the light energy coming in through the eyes. So all the Buddhists meditate with their eyes open, Bodhisattva. Mouth closed to start with, head slightly tilted forward if you're sitting. And simply be present. Now that starts mind training. Silent, quiet, peaceful, relaxed, but present. And you don't have to block your mind. You don't have to think special thoughts. You just have this sense of loving kindness and compassion. Tone. Theme. For yourself. For every living being in the entire universe. And for whatever environment or situation you find yourself. By staying present, you just allow your thoughts to arise from space, show themselves whatever they're doing, and disappear. Don't let them take you to the future, which hasn't happened, or to the past, which is gone. Gently keep to the present moment. This is where the action is. This is where your Buddha nature is. And actually, this practice we are doing right now, in tantric practice, or in the sutra practice, where you read a text of the Buddha's Dharma, teaching, whatever the subject matter, at the end of that, you again come to this state of presence. And it's called the accomplishment stage of practice. But actually, it's teaching you to relax. It's teaching you to be present in a formal situation based on the mind training practices of whatever we do, like we just took refuge and so forth. And then allowing that to dissipate. It all arises out of voidness or space, presents itself for whatever the situation requires, and then returns. And that state of voidness is the nature of the way the universe functions. Everything is simply a light show of patternings, which are the objects that we see, smell, taste, touch, hear, and think about, throughout boundless space. And there's no beginning, middle, or end. So it's a timeless situation. And that takes some getting used to. But by sitting in the present, you are teaching yourself to be okay with that. And to have a loving, kind, interested in the well-being of everybody as your theme of acquiring states of higher awareness beyond the ordinary drama mind, monkey mind awareness that permeates all the six realms, all the human worlds, all the animal, and all the spirit. And that's called enlightenment. So now you're enlightened. Now, based on this word truth, understanding, knowing this is what the Buddha accomplished, right? 13 years of practice. And he found out that practicing austerities in the path of the Arhat, which was called Hindu or Hinayana, that vehicle wasn't appropriate. So then he continued to meditate and contemplate the nature of the universe, which is the five elements, and the nature of mind, which we've categorized as five states of heightened awareness. And we came to this conclusion of non-judgmental state of being. And once he reached that point, the simplicity of it allowed him to get up and be that kind of being. And we use the word Buddha, Shakyamuni or Gautama, but it simply means heightened awareness. And he decided that it would be useful or appropriate to give methods to gain this insight, almost the way he did it, to others. And this is how we do it in the Tibetan tradition, which actually started from Shakyamuni Buddha and his reincarnation of Padmasambhava and the first Lama Yeshe Salga Soyga in the 9th and 8th, 9th century. And it starts with what is called four sights. Four thoughts that you contemplate. Now this word contemplate, a lot of people call it meditation, but it's not, because you're not fixating on a program. You're just digesting, thinking like a dog chewing on a bone. Contemplate. And the first of these four sights, what we call also the four thoughts that encourage one to practice Dharma, is that you have a precious human existence without 8 unfavorable conditions, and you have 10 favorable conditions that allow you to do this, which is unique. Yes, there are thousands of us doing this, but compared to the millions, actually billions of us on this planet, it's very favorable. And you and I and all the beings that call themselves Buddhas or Bodhisattvas are that. And so that's the first thought that you should give to yourself, contemplate every day. Even before you start to take refuge. Then 3 more sights are, you don't know what's coming. The next breath or the next life. So your infirmity and everything else is infirmity. So that's the second thought that you contemplate. The third thought is you have karma. Well, karma is tendencies, the emotional constructs that have come from your previous lives to this life and are subliminal. And these tendencies arise inadvertently as you age. They start while you're in the womb, then you're born, then you're a child, then you become a teenager, then you're an adult, and then you get sick and die. So these tendencies, you need to find out or you contemplate. Karma. If you have good tendencies, good result. If you have negative or harmful tendencies, negative or harmful result. That's karma. And the fourth one is the unfavorableness of this conditioned existence, which is the drama world. And simply put, it's just the fact that you took birth, you're aging, you're going to get sick, and you're going to leave the body, die. And to go along with that, everything is constantly changing because that's the program of the energy of the universe. And you're affected physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually with that. So that's the unfavorableness of the drama mind. What is the antidote? Practice. Just like we just did, start this class, we just sat there, loving kindness, compassion, present, calm. My definition of contemplation is taking it to heart. Yes, it started up here, we thought about it, we said it, just like we just said this, and we're contemplating, thinking about it, and encouraging ourselves to do our, whatever the teachers present. Practice. Because without practice, you cannot escape your egocentric, fixated, judgmental mind. Contemplate. Now, what we've just contemplated and discussed came from the Buddha. And came from the Buddha's reincarnation with Padmasambhava and the first Lama, his consort, Yeshe Soga. But the actual function you took refuge in as a Bodhisattva are the 6 Bodhisattva disciplines. And they are practiced on 2 levels. The level of meditation and the level of contemplation. Meditation is mind training. Contemplation is taking the results to heart to produce a favorable effect. And so when we practice these 6 perfections, they become the basis of the higher mind training practices of the Sutra and Tantra. And so slowly, deliberately, we, in time, progress. And at some point it is guaranteed that your judgmental habit and the emotional response or reaction to everything will disappear. So we have generosity, morality, patience, perseverance, meditative focus, which we're talking about, as the most important, and contemplation of this natural, non-judgmental state. If we don't do that, we don't have a structure to function as a bodhisattva. We don't have a structure as a Buddhist to quickly progress to the natural mind, from the drama mind to the natural mind, which are both in the same mind. And you use one to get to the other. You use where you are right now, today, whatever age. We teach this to the children, grade school, high school, and in the universities here on Fly and Mount. And so it's applied to everyone. But the purpose is twofold. In your mind, everybody's already Buddha. So contemplate that. Everybody already has judgmental nature. Everybody also has the antidote, non-judgmental nature. Just contemplate. Now, what we have been working with up to this point in this class tonight are these two truths. The relative truth of the pain and suffering of the drama world, which is all pervasive, and the ultimate truth that that's totally illusory and temporal and judgmental and not necessary or unfavorable. Then the other truth that in your consciousness and in the natural world around it is this non-judgmental setting already functioning. This is why when you go out in nature, you can relax. You know? In the civilized world, we're developing into what we call fear of nature. The children have fear of nature because they're locked up in their homes, in their cities, wherever. And then you take them out into the natural world, they don't know what to do. It's scary. Well, your mind is kind of like that. When you move from the drama mind of fixating on the self, I, me, mine, and all the neediness of that, without understanding that everything is incorporated into you, and everything you have somebody else made or gave you, including your life, your mother created you, then you start to understand the natural world around you. And you start to be in harmony with it. You become okay with it. You can garden and grow food and play and whatever. So when you move into the natural mind, it is also scary because it doesn't have a boundary. The emotional program world we live in is constricting. The mental processes are constricted. And they turn on you. You know, one moment everything's okay, and the next moment you're flying off the handle. Angry, jealous, and so forth. Where do you want to be? You have to make a decision as a Buddha to practice the Dharma so that you can release your own constrictive consciousness and liberate it into boundless state of your natural mind. And at the same time, think that every sentient being in the universe interconnected to you is also doing that. And then when you're not meditating or not contemplating, and you're out in the Dharma world, you can be that. You can think that. You practice it. So now you can activate it in your lifestyle, however you want. And there's only 3 don'ts. Don't be harmful to yourself. No harm to you. Your body, your mind, your consciousness. No harm to others. And most importantly, no harm to your environment. So we'll sit and contemplate. Take it to heart. Be present. Now we're going to move into what is called the path of skillful means. So we have the 10 right activities, right actions. I mentioned right livelihood, which means you can't have a job that harms the environment in some way or harms others, like working for a company that creates weapons of war. Can't do that. Not as a Buddhist. Bad karma. So when you enter into the path of skillful means, it simply means that now you are taking the energy of health, good health, physical, mental, and emotional, but most importantly, spiritual healing into your situation. And when you do this, you're entering into the oral transmission of Tibetan Buddhism, which is not a religion. It's not dogmatic, not based on books, although many, many teachings are in books of the Buddhist teachings. But the oral transmission of the teacher is based on three functions of energy: the body, the speech, and mind. And the purpose is to bring those three energy programs with meditative practice, either sutra or tantra, using the 5 elements and the 5 dhyana buddhis, 5 states of awareness, as the program. And it culminates simply in removing all emotional conflict, and in its place, clarity, power, and compassion. So we transfer the body in speech and mind with these practices into clarity of the truth of what is really going on, how to use the energy, the clarity, being clear of emotional conflict and judgment, and the bliss based on the compassion for self, others, and the environment. We start with the 3 lights meditation, light itself. And so you sit with your back straight, comfortable, or laying down. You can do this standing, walking, whatever. We start sitting. And you inhale the light of the elemental nature of air, your breath, which keeps you alive, into your lungs, and you visualize it as white light filling your lungs. Then the energy transformation of that to every cell in your body is visualized as red light passing through your entire form, either in a moment or maybe 5 seconds, up to you. Slowly, deliberately, inhale white light into your lungs, red light filling your body. That's called the absorption breath, middle breath. Then you exhale blue light to space as a healing breath, which is a combination of those two to the benefit of the environment around you and all the beings in it. Called the 3 lights Bodhisattva meditation practice, prana yoga practice. Do that. Eyes open, eyes closed. See this 3-color code applied to your breath. And then to the universe around you. Then with this very skillful healing technique, the three lights prana yoga practice, take your focus off the breath and collect the three lights into a particle centered in your chest, creating a heart chakra, a heart-mind center of your being in boundless space. And that radiant particle of these three, your body, speech, and mind, white, red, and blue, this code is connecting you to the all-pervasive nature of your own mind. It is called the Dharma vehicle, or the wisdom connection to our world, to our universe. Dharmakaya. Now you are meditating and contemplating at the same time. You're holding your imagination on that particle in your heart center while contemplating the infinite light of boundless space. This starts the path of skillful meaning. And this becomes the basis of the next practice of the 5 element healing meditation practice. Focusing on that particle in your heart center, with your imagination, increase it in size until it creates a small, clear light sphere of pure energy. And you are using that to enter into your three-dimensional universe, because your thoughts create your world. Then with your imagination on that small, tiny sphere of clear energy, clear light energy, see it grow until it creates a symbol of one of the 5 elements, whichever one you feel you need for healing or whichever one you feel is appropriate. Tonight we're going to use the sphere of space itself, which is simply a white sphere of light about the size of your thumbnail, visualized in the center of your heart chakra. Label it space. Of course, the other 4 elements are incorporated into space, but it is the mother element. Then deliberately visualize that small white sphere labeled space to move out in front of your chest and up before your eyes. Locating it 2 feet in front where you started your meditation practice using the 3 light. Then imagine it to grow in size till it's large enough like a room size, and you can see yourself sitting inside this white sphere. Incorporating all the life force feeling energy of our universe support system into our form, into our body. No judgment necessary, just do it. This applies to all meditation practice. Expand it in size by sharing it with your area of practice. We enclose this island of Kauai in that sphere of white light. And see the island and its surrounding water inside. The healing energy of our mind in union with the healing energy of our environment. This island. Or the town or city or area where you are doing this practice. If you're watching this program. Expanded in size from that position to enclose Mother Earth, including her atmosphere. Now the actual and the imagined are the same thing. This is how the path of skillful means works. Expanded in size to completely enclose our solar system, incorporating all the planets and the sun. Expanded in size to completely enclose our spiral disc-shaped galaxy, with trillions of planets and billions of suns. All of that inside. Then move it to the position beyond concept of boundless space itself. Space, incorporating space, cannot be meditated. So you simply relax and contemplate. This all-pervasive nature of your own consciousness, mind. No boundary. Relax. be present. Then return from that position, visualizing the white sphere enclosing the galaxy. Shrink it in size to just enclosing the solar system. Smaller to just incorporating Mother Earth inside. Then to the island or area where you live, enclosed. Then tinier and tinier to just all of that energy enclosing your forms. Room-sized sphere with you sitting inside. Relaxed and present. Using this spiritual path of skillful means to heal your own physical, mental, and emotional situation. Psychic energy application. And to finish, return the sphere into in front of your eyes. Bring it to chest level into your heart chakra. Reduce it in size to a small sphere and then to a tiny particle of pure energy. Incorporate it into the light of boundless space. Relax. No meditation. Simply contemplate the totality of space. Relax and be present. These two practices that we have just done, the 3 lights and the 5 elements healing meditation, is applied to all the sutras and all the tantric practices of Tibetan Buddhism. To take a short break by bringing your awareness out into the room and sharing it. That is Kunto Zongmo. That is the Dakini of the ultimate symbol of Tibetan Buddhist tantric practice, shamanistic practice. All of this is simply for healing physical, mental, emotional affliction of the judgmental habit and transforming it all into something more appropriate. And each one of us have to decide what that is. Because they were all different. You know, we have thousands of lamas, men and women. Each and every one of those lamas apply their abilities according to their situation, past lives to this life, and where they are on the planet. So every one of them has it a little bit different. But the basic theme of loving kindness and compassion is the same. Just like your mother. Now, incorporating this path of skillful means, starting with the three lights and the five elements, we now come into the Sutra and Tantra tradition of what is called the five dhyana Buddhas. Dhyana is actually two words, D, which means light, and yana, which means give. But what it really means is heightened states of awareness that nobody else is using. And you must notice that in your relationships with your family, friends, lovers, business acquaintances, pets, and the environment of beings around you. You must notice that. Why? Because that's the reason for your practice. You think this is all about you. We have a favorable birth. We have a very favorable situation. That's what I mentioned at the start of this introduction. That you have an extremely wonderful situation. You've come to connection with the Dharma and the teacher and a method to escape your own judgmental mind and your own emotional conflict of pain and suffering. In comparison to what? Everybody and everything around, everyone around you. All the spirits, all the animals, and all the humans. Are you going to be arrogant about it? I hope not. Because you still have aging, sickness, and death. As long as you're in the human condition. But if you're in the human condition, you can do something about it. It's called puja. Offering skillful means to everybody else. That's the first part of your refuge. I and all things, my mothers are going to be my reason to bring everybody to enlightenment, to this state of enlightenment. And that's the closing and the dedication prayer at the end of all your practice sessions. I make it quick. I say, may all beings attain the level of Mahamudra enlightenment and Buddhahood right now, today. That's my quickie. That sums it up. So when we move to this Sutra Tantra tradition, most people can practice Sutra as Bodhisattva. A few can practice Tantra. But all of those must be with the transmission of the Lama. And the transmission is the Lama's body, speech, and mind appropriately benefiting you, moved into your situation. like water into water. Okay, so it's happening. Why? Because there's no such thing as separation. Your mind, my mind, same mind. Functions the same way. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, in that way we're the same. What's different is our tendency, our karma, which goes back thousands of lifetimes and we'd rather not think about it. And the future is thousands of lifetimes in the future and we'd rather not think about that. Let's just take it one moment, one day at a time. And the way we do that is with deity yoga of the 5 Dhyana Buddhas. And there's 100 deities with their 100 counselors. Makes 200 in each category of 5 times 200 is 1,000. So we have 1,000 sutra practices. Some are peaceful, and some are rapid. It's the same way that parents kind of discipline their children. Sometimes being nice to the child doesn't work, so you got to be a little more forceful about it. Well, that's the way these are structured for you. So we introduced tonight Manjushri. Now Manjushri is all about what the Buddha attained in the moment of enlightenment is knowledge, knowing. So the Buddha knows and sees omnisciently. And because he knows and sees omnisciently, that individual is all powerful. And because he's all powerful and knows everything, he's omniscient. That means he's the universe. His mind is the universe. But not supernatural, just natural, kind and considerate. So Manjushri has this flaming sword of cutting through the ignorance, not knowing. And at the same time, it's holding a lotus, which is the symbol of how you enter from the spirit world into the human world. The symbol is a lotus. And the lotus combines the light of the sun and moon, which are placed on the lotus. And then that appears beside your left ear. All of that symbolic representation. And on it is a sutra text of the Heart Sutra, which simply says, form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Which we just did that. We just did that. With the 3 lights of the breath and using the space element of the 5 elements. But now we're going to up it to a human representation of body, speech, and mind of that of a Buddha. So that's Manjushri. Why? So that you know, start to know everything. So your intuition starts to kick in. You know, yes, you need the guidance of a Lama, but you want to know what's going on with what the Lama is telling you. Or maybe you're reading it in the book. You want to understand all that. I'm reading a book right now with Shanti Kardiba. It's about this thick. And it goes through every aspect of Buddha. This guy took 50 years to write it all down. But in any case, Manjushri is about knowledge and insight developing simultaneously. So you practice the Manjushri with the mantra and the seed stone. Why do you need the seed stone? Well, because that's the creation point of voidness. That's where it all starts and that's where it all ends. The 5 elements and these 5 states of awareness develop together as your universe, your world, and all the beings in it. Then that vibratory sound creates what we call the energy field of the Bodhisattva, which appears as the body, speech, and mind of the Lama. So the Lama and this symbol of Manjushri is the same thing. then that transmission is put into you with the three lights of the Lama's body, speech, and mind as the three colors that we use for the breathing technique. But they're also marked with three sounds, Om, Ah, and Hum, which is three energy fields of awareness. And when you become Manjushri, then you project that to your mother and then everybody in the universe. All your family, all your friends, all your lovers, all your pets, businesses of enemies, adversaries, people that hate you or trying to do weird things to you. Everybody, all the spirit world and all the animals becomes Manjushri in the back. That creates an energy of vibration, which is the mantra. And the mantra is these syllables appearing in your heart around the syllable D, which looks like this. It's in red, and it looks like a letter U on its side with a hook over it. It's spelled DHI. And it's on a lotus sun and moon disc, just like this one that appears by your left ear. The lotus with the heart sutra. But this creation sound is the sound of light itself. It's where we get the word D in Bo D. That said, let's practice. Back straight, eyes in front, open. Let the energy of light and space penetrate your eyes, your brain, your body. Mouth closed. Breathe through the nose if you can. Hands comfortable on your knees or in your lap. Head slightly tilted forward. Start with the three lights practice. Inhale white light, hear the sound Om. The energy of the five elements of the white light penetrate every cell in your body. You visualize red light and hear the sound Ah. These two together are passed out your nose as blue light to everyone in space. And you hear the sound of ultimate healing, boom. Slowly and deliberately inhale. White light fills your lungs. Om. Red light energy filling your body. Om. These two together out the nose. That's compassion, power, and insight. You hear boom. Blue light to space. Color of the sky. And to receive the transmission of Manjushri, you visualize the Lama Guru in front of you, whichever one you like, including me. Representing all the Lamas of all the lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. Then you see white light from that Lama's forehead into your forehead. Receive the transmission of the Nirmanakaya, the deity. And Red light from the Lama's throat into your throat, you receive the transmission of the power of speech, mantra. In this case, the mantra of the deity. Then blue light from the Lama's heart chakra into your heart chakra, you receive the wisdom transmission of all the higher states of awareness. And when you can see these three lights shining simultaneously into you, the Lama melts into you. That's the fourth empowerment. It's called the empowerment of union, of the universe and you as one. Then the three lights shine inside the central channel of your life force. The white Om is in your forehead, the red Ah in your throat, and the blue Om in your heart chakra. Visualize the white Om and a white sphere of light move down the central channel and merge with the red Ah in your throat. These two in union move down into the blue Om. With these three in union in your heart chakra, the D appears. Red in color in a white background. And you become Manjushri. This tantric deity of wisdom, compassion, power, insight, based on loving kindness and concern for the well-being of others, is the practice of attaining knowledge and understanding of what you are doing and how to use it. When you can see yourself clearly as this deity, young, male body, healthy, ruddy complexion, dressed in silks and jewels, has the qualities, blazing sword cutting through ignorance, raised in the sky, left hand holding the stem of a lotus blooming by your left ear, with the heart sutra on it, of Prajnaparamita. Legs in full lotus, and you are sitting on the lotus, 18-petal lotus, sun and moon day. When you can see yourself 3D, like a hologram, replacing your ordinary body, then you project it to your mother who created you, sitting in front, life-size, facing you. Then you project it to your father and all relatives, friends, lovers, everybody you have karma with, pets, even enemies. You keep projecting till you've included 8 billion humans as Manjushri. And all the animals in the ocean and on the land as Manjushri. You keep increasing this outward like you did the 5 elements until it fills your mind, including all the spirit worlds of space as Manjushri. So compassion, power, and insight is accomplished. And the 9 syllables of the heart mantra appear in your circling the D inside a 5-colored sphere in your heart center. starting with the Om in front and clockwise with the letters facing outward. Om, Ah, Ra, Ra, Ta, Nam, Di, So, Ha. Om, Nam, Di, So, Om, Nam, Di, So, Om, Nam, Di, So, Om, Om, everything arises in purity. Ara, Tata, Nadi means everything is the light energy of the universe as the elements and five states of awareness. Nadi is the channeling of this light through every cell in your body as you as Manjushri, starting with the seed syllable in the mantra. And D is this light escaping to space as healing energy to all sentient beings, animals, humans, and spirits throughout the universe. And Soha means without time, timelessly, and always increasing, always more appropriate and more beneficial, just like the sun's energy supporting life forms in this solar system, on this planet, and in our body. The letters around the D face outward and move clockwise. The D is stationary, red in color, and blazing with the light of the sun. Manjushri is sitting on a lotus sun and moonset with the, with the sun behind him, radiance lighting up our universe. And it starts in your heart and moves outward. Loving kindness and compassion is the theme, power, insight, and bliss is the accomplishment. Om Samadhi Soham. 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 Nadi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Samadhi Soham. Samadhi Soham. Om 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 Samadhi Soham. Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. Om Samadhi Soham. And without your speech, just the energy of the mantra syllables in your heart surrounding the D, blazing light energy through your symbol of Manjushri, compassion, power, insight, and knowledge. All of that spreading to all sentient beings in your mandala, in your mind. And then outward to the physical universe. And without sound, mouth the mantra. While you're visualizing yourself as Manjushri and all beings in your mandala. Then whisper. and sounded. The D is your non-judgmental Buddha nature. Natural mind is voidness, light. The mantra is the vibration of bliss, energy, of physical, mental, and emotional programming being transformed. And the visualization of you and all the beings is the mind of your all-pervasive nature without any boundary, infinite application. Body, speech, and mind in the same place as Manjushri, mantra, mandala, mudra. Apply to the universe so that you start to understand the illusory nature of your physical situation and that of the universe as totally illusory, a light show. No need for emotional application. No need to judge good, bad, high, low, or be ignorant. Om Shanti Soha. 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 Then in all sutra and tantric practice, sutra is with the text describing the mandala and deity and all of that, and the purpose for the motivation and all the prayers. That's the sutra application. The tantric application is simply to see the syllable, the mantra, and create the mandala, and do many recitations using that particular male or female deity. Peaceful or wrathful application, we say peaceful or protector or dakini application. But whatever, there comes a point in the practice where you move into the accomplishment stage of the practice. And all tantric practice must have this accomplishment stage at the end of the practice session, the formal session. And it simply means to move into the aspect of voidness, sunyata, the space-like awareness of non-judgmental mind. Thoughts arise, but with no habit of this is good and that is bad and this is high and that is low, or I don't know anything, past, present, or future, ignorant. Gone. Gone beyond. Gone beyond mind. Then we apply it with the compassion aspect of the mantra by moving into voidness, that this illusory nature, you know, and everybody has the ability to know. So you dissolve all those infinite sentient beings as Manjushri into you, the central figure. And then you as Manjushri disappear into the sound of the mantra, the application, the activity of the meditation. Then starting with the Om, Ah, Ra, Ah, Sa, Na, all dissolve into the seed cell of D. And the D in five-colored light disappears into space, either contracted to the particle or expanded to boundless space. Your choice. Rest in the present moment of nothing whatsoever. Applied to everything, to everyone. The ultimate concept of timeless awareness. In this present moment, you know everything. Intuitive awareness developing. Knowing your non-judgmental state of awareness, you are included. We call this Mahamudra, the great view or seal. Dzogchen, the mind of bliss, in Tibetan Sanskrit. The great perfection of Prajnaparamita. Or simply the middle way, Madhyamika. laugh, enjoy, live. Then from the fulfillment stage, for your post-meditation or worldly application, you will become the deity. Manjushri is most appropriate for knowledge and insight. Attainment, Tara is most appropriate for healing any kind of obstacle connected with sickness, disease, or outside spirit influence. Chenrezig is most appropriate for compassion for the 6 realms of sentient beings, and so forth. The medicine Buddha is the symbol of all of this in one symbol, applied for healing, either to treat the cause or the symptoms of disease. But whichever deity yoga you use, whichever breathing practice you do, or whichever one of the 5 elements you apply, it is necessary to dedicate the merit of the virtue of your practice, this accumulation of powerful tendencies which will carry forth to future life to the benefit of every living being in the universe, all the animals, all the humans, and all the spirits that exists in the past, present, and future. So first in Sanskrit, Ewa di nirdu da, Shadya champo churchen, Dowa chintin malu, Devi sawa kufarshu, Sanjay kusu nimpa jimmadam, Shoni nedu dimpa jimmadam, Kendu niche dumpa jimmatu, Sita gumyam molam ju parshu. By this virtue of having realized Mahamudra, they have quickly established every being without exception in that state of accomplishment. By the blessings of the three bodies of the Buddha being accomplished, by the blessing of the truth of the Dharma being unchanging, and by the blessing of the wishes of the Sangha being unwavering, may this and all dedication be fulfilled. May all the Lamas have long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity, and may all their wishes be fulfilled. May all sentient beings be free of suffering, established in bliss and equanimity, and at all times and in all places be happy and apt to procreate. Emaho, Kashikale, Mahalo. Thank you.